This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
So, at a hearing of the Senate Appropriations Committee on the 2025 defense budget, Southern boy Lindsey Graham, serving as the Republican senator for North Carolina since 2003, literally accosts in launching an aggressive vocal attack on the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. This was also somewhat in response to the Biden administration in Washington withholding an arms shipment to Israel as leverage against an operation in Rafah. What comes across as rather startling is the heightened level of rigor and savagery in Graham's war-hawkish, intransigent diatribe.
And threats to do it again. Drop bombs if you have to.
With seemingly scant remorse to the World War II atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, then almost psychotically, and within a nimble blink of an eyelid, purposely correlates these two horrendous stains on history to the current-day tensions relating to Iran, Israel, Hezbollah and Hamas, and I'd imagine whoever else that he deems internationally threatens his interests. Of course, no mention of the perished in Gaza, with Graham showcasing his allegiances almost venomously, goading Austin as though this was some cheap fictitious John Wayne Hollywood Western, as to whether he'd have the gumption to pull the trigger, or the mechanics behind getting to pushing that there button when the time was right. So let us observe.
I'm not asking, they did it. Do you think that was disproportionate?
It was definitely.
Well, do you, in hindsight, do you think that was the right decision for America to drop 2 atomic bombs on the Japanese cities in question?
Well, I'll tell you, it stopped the World War.
Junior gives the correct generic answer. That is, if he wants to keep his job. To this horrid and wicked question, nuking civilians can never be justified unless equally under atomic threat.
Do you agree, General Austin? If you'd been around, would you say drop them?
I agree with the chairman here.
I mean, if we go back in time, says, hey, we got 2 atomic bombs, should we drop them? What would you say?
I fail to see the necessity of gleefully inquiring as to this question, as to the here and now, unless shoring up and sharpening his Raytheon and Black Rock credentials.
Well, I think the leadership was interested in curtailing the...
Well, what's Israel interested in? Do you believe Iran really wants to kill all the Jews if they could?
Giddy up. Here we go. Not dissimilar to gerrymandering, it's not lost upon us that this is the Senate hearing for the upcoming annual defense budget.
The Iranian regime, yeah. Do you believe Hamas is serious when they say we'll keep doing it over and over again? Do you agree that they will if they can?
I do, Hamas.
Okay,
but
right. Do you believe that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization also bent on the destruction of the Jewish state?
You'd imagine a U.S. Defense Secretary may be more astute than to let this Muppet Hawk almost bully him with his call to arms or Armageddon at the behest and cost of his nation's kids. As for his Hamas statement, which for some has almost become a sound bite, anyone can say anything. However, carrying it out and to the letter is something else, and Graham is fully aware of this. Yet, despite this, what we are efficiently currently witnessing are the scores of thousands being slaughtered with impunity. What happened to their basic right to exist?
Hezbollah is a terrorist organization.
Okay, so Israel's been hit in the last few weeks by Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, dedicated to their destruction. And you're telling me you're going to tell them how to fight the war?
He kind of conveniently leaves out the fact that Netanyahu bombed the Iranian consulate first, which initiated this latest and more direct confrontation. What does Lindsey suppose happens if you bomb any country's consulate?
And what they can and can't use when everybody around them wants to kill all the Jews? And you're telling me that if we withhold weapons in this fight, the existential fight for the life of the Jewish state, it won't send the wrong signal? Do you still think it was a good idea, General Austin, to get out of Afghanistan?
The epitome of diatribe, when you rant and rave without breaking to hear the answer to your initial question. This man borders on the precipice of morally depraved. This arbiter of death purposely ramps it up. What about the signals sent out to the rest of the world, presently and for the future? Hey, even conscionable US citizens can see that the killing of women and children is by far insanely disproportionate.
I support the president's decision.
Yeah, I think you do. I think it was a disastrous decision. If we stop weapons necessary to destroy the enemies of the state of Israel at a time of great peril, we will pay a price.
I'd imagine that's a double entendre. This con artist also means a price to the supposed good fortunes of himself alongside his donors and whatever other bodies and institutions that he is wholly subservient to.
This is obscene. It is absurd. Give Israel what they need to fight the war they can't afford to lose. This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids.
What on earth is this immoral senator talking about? Scores of thousands of civilians dead clearly isn't a thing means nout. Yet according to this muppet, Netanyahu and his regime are facing a Nagasaki and Hiroshima on steroids? A preposterous statement to make. This man is clearly out of his tiny little mind. The frenzied ardency in his facial expression for war and death. Zero remorse for the mass casualties resulting from the Second World War's heinous atomic bombings. And I say, even if you are of the group who argue that it was a necessary evil, then you would certainly not celebrate it in the modern day. Verbal diarrhea from a court jester. And this guy prides himself on being a Baptist Christian. Not that this would make a difference to his reprehensible behavior in the eyes of some. The lobbies have clearly purchased the soul of this biased floozy. Senator Graham, shame on you.